My real problem with literacy came with the start of the ninth grade in English 2 honors, assuming literacy is the ability to think critically and write comprehensively instead of merely being able to read. I started the class off pretty well. We took a multiple choice test, which I did okay on, and I presented a summer project that we were supposed to do, and it went well also. Once the class really started though, I began having trouble. In class we talked about the use of rhetoric in the text we read, Lord of the Flies and Animal Farm. At the time I barely knew what rhetoric meant, let alone how the authors were using it in the text. Most of the class agreed something was a metaphor, a personification, or simile, or an illusion. That part I understood. The reasoning behind using such rhetorical devices was beyond me, however. I didn't grasp the concept of the writers using such devices to emphasize a point, or to add more depth to a personality, or to make things seem more similar. I was also afraid to ask for help in class as most of the other kids would pick up on it intuitively, and it seemed as if the teacher expected that from us. Also, the teacher would often put me on the spot with questions which I didn't know an answer, which would make me dread that class every day, as I would look like a fool every time I tried to answer these questions. The other part of the class I struggled with was writing papers. Prior to that class, I never really wrote many papers for English class. This class, however, had many papers spanning several areas. The teacher would give us a prompt and what kind of paper she wanted us to do, and we would have, say, a week to do it. I would spend way too much time on these papers, spending over an hour just on the introduction sentences, and still fall flat on what I wanted to accomplish. I knew what I wanted to say, but I couldn't articulate it into words. I would eventually turn in my draft, and she would butcher my paper with a red pen, and I would sit there and feel defeated. She would write things like, body doesn't follow the thesis, more detail, more evidence, introduction is too generic. I still wouldn't get it, and she really didn't help me what I needed to do. She would only tell me what I did wrong. All in all, the class was not very pleasant. I walked in every day, unprepared and fearful of being called on. While also not learning much from it, other than a good grammar unit, the class did, however, show me that I was not an English person and set me on a path of a scientific or mathematical career, which I enjoy up to this point.